How you doing, Dave?
What's up, man?
Finally, good to talk to you, man.
Yeah.
I was just looking at Shane and Mike. They do the SEC podcast, and they had the production numbers for like
Uh-huh.
receiving yards, returning OL starters and all that stuff. And I don't know if they included transfers or whatnot, but it in Florida looked like they in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna give the numbers because I'm gonna let you do that because that's your thing, man.
Yeah, mine's going to be a little
But
bit different. Like I said, what I'm going to do, I'm using PFF to kind of go along and, take snap counts into account. And that's how I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to take that average grade for the returning players and, see what average grade of, quarterback and offensive line and all that is coming back for teams. So I'm going to go about it a little bit different way. But I did see a chart out there, and Florida was like dead center as far as returning production. But I do think they were counting transfers as well.
okay. I was just looking, but I see them up like for the like OL and then the receiving yards or whatever whatnot. I mean, yeah, you're right. They was in like dead center for that. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, yeah,
as far as everything else,
if
it
you look
looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, for offense, it's probably going to be pretty balanced because you got a lot returning at offensive line, but not a whole lot returning at wide receiver.
Right.
So
now I do got a question about that right there.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you got it already in your mind but who do you feel is going to be the breakout player as far as returning receivers go this upcoming season?
It might be too easy to go this route, but it's got to be Mizell, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's got to be. We saw flashes last year. I saw, and it's so funny because somebody shared the highlight of the stupid block that was called against Montreal that took back Mizell's long touchdown against Mississippi State, and there was a crackback block that should have never been called or whatever it was, something like that. But we saw the glimpses of Mizell. We saw the big touchdown versus Georgia. The big bomb from Lagway to Mizell, and puts Florida up. So, it's he's got to be the guy that if we're picking a guy to break out, and that is certainly going to be a topic, in the next couple of weeks as we count down to spring football in a couple of weeks. Breakout players is going to be one. I was going to pick one on each side of the ball. I'll leave defense for that episode, but Mizell was going to be my guy on offense that has to. For himself, he needs to break out, but for this offense, I think he needs to as well.
Me too. How you what you think about Dallas Wilson? That now because he gonna be playing that outside. What YZ?
Yeah. Yep. And hey, the good thing about that is too with Florida going and getting somebody like Sturdivant, you don't have to force Dallas Wilson to be that guy right away.
Right.
He has to earn it. And I think that's kind of the way the staff has worked anyway. I feel pretty good about the way they have used their freshmen, and it's especially at running back. We saw it with ETN, and we saw it with at receiver with Trey Wilson. We saw it last year with Jaden Ball. Both those positions, more so running back. So, but we saw it with Trey Wilson a couple of years ago. If you've proven that you can go out there and be a playmaker, you're going to get the ball. But with Sturdivant coming in, Florida doesn't have to go force a Dallas Wilson out there. If you see Dallas Wilson early in a game, and you see him getting a whole lot of snaps, if Sturdivant's who we think he can be, well, then Dallas Wilson went out there and earned it. He went out there, spring practice, fall camp, that, hey, he really turned heads, and he deserves some reps. He deserves some balls thrown his way. So I think that's going to be, Mizell in that same situation. I think when you start looking at outside receivers, if you see Dallas Wilson out there pretty early, it's going to be a good sign for Florida, because that means he put that together, in spring, in fall camp, to go out there and prove that he needs the ball in his hands.
You think he can have maybe a type of impact that like a DJ Moore or maybe a Jeremiah Smith?
Man, I don't want to take anything away from Jeremiah Smith. So that's not a shot at Dallas Wilson, but what that kid did was special. So, that's me more propping up Jeremiah Smith, not me downing Dallas Wilson or anything like that. What type of player he is special. That's hard to replicate.
But you do believe like having Sturdivant and we still got Khalil.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Probably help speed up the process.
I mean, it should. I mean, if you see him out there, that means he had to go prove it. He had to go beat those guys to get on the field. They're not going to give it to him. So if you see him out there, I think it's a good sign.
Right. I appreciate you, Dave. Hey, when I be in your comments, if I'm just going off about height and weight and stuff, don't even pay me no mind. Don't even pay me no mind.
You talking about YouTube? You talking about YouTube?
Hey, but I've been following you for 3 years, and I enjoy your show. And I'm glad you started Spaces again.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I mean,
I definitely tune in whenever when you up and going.
Sounds good. Okay.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks for hopping in.
I was gonna ask, man, how good do you think the kid James gonna be next season for us, Cameron?
I like what he showed last year. In his time, I think he's gonna be one of those players. I think they're with Sapp. Go give Sapp, give Sapp a breather. There at that would be the edge F spot. There with the edge with the hand in the dirt. I'm excited for him. I thought he showed some good things last year. I thought if I remember off the top of my head, I think PFF was pretty high on him as well. Not the end all be all, but if you want another route to look at there. But to me, it's certainly, can you be that guy when Tyreek Sapp needs a breather, where you can kind of keep up the same level of production or thereabouts. Tyreek Sapp, he showed those last 4 games of the season was sometimes going to be hard to replicate, maybe even for himself, but for somebody like Cam James. But yeah, I mean, just that edge spot, just in general. And LJ McCray is another player. I think Cam James, LJ McCray, both those guys are going to have to step up their game. Justice Boone on the way out. So now you got these young guys that need to step up in their second years. But also that stand up edge spot and that jack spot. George Gums, another one of those guys who just kind of put it together. And we saw the playmaking ability of him those last 4 games. But he's about it at that stand-up spot that we saw. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I asked Billy Napier about it when he was on the podcast a few weeks ago. And it was good to hear because I think we knew that these guys had that capability. But Billy Napier just came out and said, hey, guys like Pup Howard, guys like Aaron Childs, of who we are thinking more so inside linebackers, that they might slide outside. They might be that jack in certain pass rush situations. So you don't have to just count on George Gums and Kofi Asari, the transfer. Florida might get creative. You might see a Pup Howard. You might see an Aaron Childs at that edge rush spot. And I know that was talked about when Pup transferred from South Carolina to Florida, if he would be more of an edge guy, more of a jack spot. But I was like, no. I'll talk to enough people. Pup's going to be inside. But he does have that capability. So it's like Florida might get creative, put him in that spot. And then when people saw Aaron Childs on the field last year and when the season ended, who could help out at edge, and his name came up there as well. And then Billy Napier says it in the interview a few weeks ago. So Florida's may have to get creative. We thought they might hit transfer portal even more so. They might bring in 2 edge players to go along with Kofi Asari. One more with him. But it does seem like Florida might get creative with some of the guys they already have for that edge spot. So I like the potential of that group when you have a Cam James and an LJ McCray together as young guys in that F spot. But certainly don't want to overlook the jack spot as well, and what Billy Napier says they could do with some other players.
Okay, my last question, because you just mentioned the kid, but McCray kid, if we don't go and grab another D lineman, do you think he'll fit in well there? Because I think we recruited him for out of high school, he was like the number 1 D lineman.
Yep.
Do you think he'll play well there if it did come to something like that?
I mean, you would certainly. He's got the pedigree. I mean, you're looking for your, your blue chips, your high 5-star guys, and LJ McCray is one of those. So you certainly hope that you would see it by year two. Look, if you don't see a guy break out in year one, that is not the end of the world. Most guys don't. So even your 5-stars, even your highly rated freshmen, it may take to that second year. He's going to have more opportunity, as we say. Florida does need help there. Florida does need more proven playmakers there. So as we hit spring football in a couple of weeks, you're going to be looking for somebody like LJ McCray. He's going to be another guy that in certain situations, I can see him standing up as well, but mostly probably a hand in the dirt, that edge F spot to go along with Sapp and James. But I do think they might get creative with him as well. I mean, I remember it was probably about a year ago, I had Jacob LaFrance on a Florida Victorious event, and he kind of just really spearheaded LJ McCray and the versatility that he brings to the table and how they could stand him up, how they could have his hand in the dirt. So with, if Florida finds themselves in spring practice where they need another guy that can stand up, he might be that guy more so than Pup Howard, more so than Aaron Childs, that they, it's going to all be certain situations as well. There were times when Florida's defense was really finding their footing last year when you saw Searcy and Pyburn and Cam James and Moiver. You had a lot of pass rush specialists on the field in third downs. And, it wasn't you could tell Florida was bringing in guys to get after the quarterback. So I ain't gonna be surprised if you see a Cam James and an LJ McCray and George Gums all out there together in a 3rd and 8 situation. So I do think if LJ McCray can take the necessary steps to be that guy, you'll see there's going to be plenty of opportunity for him to be out there and rush that passer.